So right now we are looking at the little project we're going to do today. It's one of these bag holders, and this is this cute branch fabric that I've been using lately, making some pot holders, and I made the oven mitt the other day out of it. And this just can hang. I always recommend hanging them up pretty high so that you can push the bags, the grocery bags, in at the top and then pull them out at the bottom like a dispenser. If you hung this at doorknob height, you'd have to push them in and out of the top. And I kind of like them a little higher in a, pantry closet or whatever. I call this my 50 plus bag holder or something like that. I've got a little tag around here I've been using for 15 years. And the one I have on display, I'll grab that out of my bin and show you. It has 50 bags in it. I just have this one hanging in my booth. This is my little tag that I have. To make our elastic casings, we're just going to go ahead and serge both of these pieces. I'm just cutting off a little less than a 1/4 inch. My stitch is fairly long, about a 4. I'm using elastic that's 3/16 of an inch. It's already hooked onto my bodkin from the last time that I made these, and I mark it every 9 inches with a washable marker. That will be hidden inside the casing, so it doesn't really matter whether it's washable or not. Because it's 3/16, I'm gonna fold this over a little bit more than that, about 5/8 of an inch. I've used different size elastics. I don't really like 1/4, it's not quite strong enough. 1/2 inch seems to be a little bit bulky, but I've used 1/2 inch a lot when I couldn't get the 3/16 that I prefer. I'm just going to stitch this down the length at about 1/2 inch, using anywhere from a 2, 2.5, 3 on my stitch length, and make this casing. Now I'm just going to attach my quilting fabric to my duck canvas, and I'm going to go on the 20-inch side with my 20-inch piece and use a small stitch, and I'm following the 5/8 inch guide. It's attached like that. Then I'll do the other end in the same way. So here I have my canvas piece with my fabric sewn on, and I've pressed this nicely so it's nice and crisp. And so I have my casing on each end, and I'm going to put my elastic in right now. And I have to say, this isn't the proper way to do a casing for a garment. For a garment where you would have elastic around your wrist or around your waist, you would never want to do your elastic like this. But this is a utility item, and once it's shaped, the closure doesn't show, and it's rubbing against plastic bags, not against somebody's skin. And so for this item, we're doing this what some traditionalists might think is a lazy way of doing this casing. And we're using the bodkin, and I have doubled this over. Okay, so if you can see this, I fold this over, and then I fold this again, and I put this on here and squeeze this down, and then it really holds on good because it's got a lot that it's held on to. Once I've got these pieces in the casing, I just leave a little bit sticking out, just less than a 1/4 inch, up to a 1/4 inch, and I put a pin in that, and then I pull it through. And of course, when I'm doing a big batch of these, I have them all laying flat on a surface, and I just go back and forth and back and forth. So I get to my line here, and I'm going to put another pin in there, And I'm not going to cut it yet because, as you know, it's very easy to pull elastic out by accident. And so I'm going to find this other corner. Okay, so I'm going to get through here. And I'm going to pull this through. And I'm going to get all the way up here to where my next one is in here. You can see that line is there. And I like to keep the elastic flat. It'll tend to roll one way or the other on you, and just keep it flat. And then I will really quickly just trim that piece of elastic. Now I'm only hooked on one end, and I'm going to pull through, and then I'm going to, since I'm only doing one, I'm going to trim this off. I already have some of these hanging loops. I'm just going to show you with a scrap of drill canvas how I would do a big long strip of this. If you're just doing one, you can just take your little piece and just you know, iron in the edges. But if you were doing a big long strip, you would get it started like this and pull it through like that. This is just to show you how it's done, and I'm using my edge foot. And I'm just going to stitch down this edge to make this hanging loop. You want your finished piece to be 9 inches. Okay, so we're ready to finish this project. I don't gather the fabric all the way up to this pin here. I don't allow it to, because I want this nice and flat while I'm working. And then later on, I will try to get that gather all the way up. I prefer that it not get gathered up there, you know, so you don't push this fabric down there any more than happens naturally. So first thing I'm going to do is match up these two ends. Now if you had a cute horse fabric or something, you would want to pay attention to the way your little horse faces sat, so that they would be at the top. And we're going to sew from the top to the bottom of this. And so I pin those to match up at the top there. Now what I'm going to do is just attach this elastic going back and forth a few times, and then I'm going to do the same thing when I get down to the area where the canvas meets the cotton fabric. But I'm going to tuck this in first, this loop. I fold them like this. You could do it any way you want it. But I just fold it so that it's like it's folded in half, and then these two ends are sort of offset. And I tuck that in there so that it's matched up. The top part is matched up with the edge of the bottom of that quilting fabric. I've slipped a little there. And I'm going to stitch onto here. I go over that a lot. I really don't want that to pull out on somebody. And then I stitch down this end. And as you can see, it really isn't a traditional casing. It's a cheater casing. Before we get there, we're going to match up these two pieces of fabric. We're not going to let go of that elastic and let it slip through, so we're going to repin them together. And we're going to match these up as best we can and sew down, and we're going to backstitch a bunch on our elastic again. I trim these with pinking shears. You probably don't need to, but I just don't want this pulling out and coming out with someone's baggies as they're pulling baggies out. And so I just go close to this end, sort of at an angle with the pinking shears, and then get a little bit longer, and then I just go somewhat straight down the edge. This is tough to cut through. If you don't want to do this to your shears or your hands, you can take the time to go through the layers separately. We want to now distribute the elastic, give it a good tug, make sure it seems good, and use a lint roller. This is sort of weird, the way that you have to turn these, and it really kind of wrinkles up this canvas. But so I've got this piece like this, and what I like to do then is shake it out a little, and then I just take it to the iron, do this. Try to go from both sides a little bit. And like I say, I don't get to the edges all the way and make a big crease, but I just call that good.